Program is still this morning on ITV as usual every Monday morning. The first discussion segment is on the aviation, and today's one is same as always, and we'll take a look at the environmental impact of aviation part 4 this time around, and we look at the through the eyes of a man who has touched so many lands when it comes to issue of aviation program, aviation event, anything that has to do with aviation, Africa, Europe, America, Asia, just name it. And that's the profile of the man. Well, we call him the #1 aviation freak in Nigeria, a man who also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, Mr. Goddy.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
How was the weekend?
Wonderful as always, Joe. And you?
Oh, beautiful.
Great. Thanks. Everything's so smooth and nice today.
Yeah, thank you.
And my dear viewers, please welcome to the program.
Yeah. Before we go into the subject matter is a quick look at what the Vice President, of course, turned out last week when he announced that Lagos and Abuja airport has been concessioned.
Well, good news. However, until we hear who the concessionaires are, we would not be too excited yet. We want to be sure that we are dealing with serious-minded individuals or corporate, bodies who would very seriously run aviation the way it's done successfully in other nations that have made a big deal out of aviation. There is no reason we should not have a national carrier. It's a pride of the nation. There is no reason aviation should fail in Nigeria. I keep saying it, it's not about money, it's about attitude, and it's about lawlessness. And until we send a strong signal out there that we have laws in this land, and these laws have teeth, can bite, are willing to bite, and will bite when they catch you doing the wrong things. If that signal doesn't go across, no one will get serious. I've had the privilege of globetrotting, going around this world and seeing how people are organized and how people are conducting themselves. There is no country of the world where you do not have crooks and criminals and charlatans. Everyone has got his own fair share. We've got our fair share of charlatans in Nigeria as well. But why do you call some nations developed, civilized, and a good place to be? Because the good ones who obey the laws kind of emasculate the ugly ones. And so all you see out there will be all good. But underneath the goodness, we've got charlatans. Let me land quickly on this point I'm making. We can achieve the same in Nigeria when we stop toying and messing around with our laws. It's the singular reason we are where we are. It's my opinion. I hold it strongly. I began to talk to this nation, spending my hard-earned money on radio, on TV, 20 years ago. I drew up a course like a pilot who do his flight plan and say, I'm moving from point A to B, but I'm going to have a detour there. And then I drew that plan, and I told this nation slightly over 20 years ago where we were heading, that we were heading to anarchy, the way we were going, and we've got it on our hands. We're just at the precipice.
We're not there yet, and we will never be there. I strongly believe
I hope not.
That those who are handling the affairs of this nation are doing just well, and they will take us to the promised land sooner or later.
Hopefully, Joe.
Of concessioning.
Yes.
What are the likely effects of that?
It will boost. First of all, government does not do business. But the role of government is to put the framework of law, enabling environment, create the platform for actors and actresses to get on stage and get things happening and working well. That's what the business of government is.
They're talking about business, government of developed world. government.
Government is government everywhere. Joe, I don't want to accept that segregation. Government is government everywhere, and it is serious business. We've got to show that governance is a serious business, and begin to really hold people accountable when they misbehave. Now, what I'm saying is, it's a good idea to to concession
airport Abuja and Lagos airport.
Yeah, very wonderful idea, but we need to be sure that those that will get there are not those that will do so politically.
We have had so many government facilities and agencies, taken over by private firms. How have they done?
Yes, very wonderful and good observation. But Joe, let me tell you what the issue is. We always play the game of ostrich in the forest. I'll give you a typical example. NCC, the Nigerian Communication Commission. This is the only country in the entire world, not even our junior sister country, Benin Republic, in our western, border there, has done as badly as we've done with communication, with all the hiccups, with all the fraudulent activities. You wake up one morning, money is deducted from your phone, and it's said that you had subscribed to what you never did, and some individuals are benefiting from this massive looting going on. And then you pick up your phone and call some individual in NCC. No one takes your call, and even when they do, they say, okay, sir, we've heard you, we'll do something, and at the end of the day, it's business as usual. There is no country in the world that what's happening in our communication industry is going on. And what's the reason? Lawlessness, corruption, and massive looting, and that no one appears to be capable of chasing. I have chosen the path of aviation to do my bit, and that's what I'm doing right now. And you may well know, like we already discussed, our legal department is getting ready. We'll get off the ground from the day of my birthday, which is 1st of October this year. And guess how old I'm going to be on 1st of October? You will never believe it. Yeah. On 1st of October, Joe, I'll be 60.
Really?
Yes. And this makes me really feel good and grateful to God. I haven't done badly, Joe.
Sure.
And yet I am not a billionaire. I am not a trillionaire. Not anywhere near those. Not anywhere near. Joe, wait a minute. Joe, wait a minute. Not anywhere near those figures. But I'll tell you, Joe, I tell people who listen to me, life or living is an art. Money constitutes only 40% of good living. If you want to know the art of living, come and ask me. You can live better than a trillionaire who would soon commit suicide because he or she doesn't know how to live well.
All right, now let's get to the business of the day. Environmental impact of aviation.
Yeah, so government is doing well by the concession and thing, but they will do better if those in charge insist on getting people that are tested with good character and knowledge.
When it has to do with government, taking some of these things out of their control, out of their management to private firm, what we usually face is an offshoot of price, an offshoot of tariff. How much is ticket now from Lagos, from Abuja to Lagos, or from Abuja to any part of the country? How much? Maybe XY. Now, if the concession, pulls through, have you imagined how much ticket will be?
Joe, I think our main concern right now, with all due humility, flying is not cheap anywhere in the world. And is the I don't want to use the word ordinary or common, but the average Nigerian out there needs to commute from point A to point B without necessarily getting on the airplane. Those who fly are those that can afford them, and the focus of every flying individual should be safety. We should have well-serviced, maintained airplanes. We should have airports that are well-equipped and serviced in such a way that infiltration by terrorists and infiltration by those who sabotage the system will be almost impossible. That should be our focus. Joe,
irrespective of the airfares.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I really don't care how much it costs. I care about getting there safely. And airplanes are very faithful machines. The reason they fall out of skies is that human operators are unfaithful.
Okay, now let's come to
that's
the
why
issue
they fall off the skies.
for the segment.
One, please. We're dealing with part 4 of environmental. We're going to be more medical today than aviation. But let's go on to clip 1 very quickly and take it from there. Joe, here we go. Health effects of noise. Remember, that's where we stopped last week. So last week we introduced under the environmental impact of aviation, the health effects of noise. That is aircraft noise we're dealing with right now. Excuse me. Let's refresh our memories by listing some of the health effects of noise, to include 1, hearing impairment, 2, hypertension, 3, ischemic heart disease, 4, annoyance, 5, sleeplessness. Just but a few. It's not exhaustive. We need to see why we must give attention to those working for us at the airports and keep them safe, healthy, and alive. Although loss of hearing can occur naturally with age, studies have, however, shown that impact of noise is sufficient to impair hearing over the course of a lifetime. Finally, aircraft noise has been linked to high blood pressure. Right, let's run quickly to clip 2. Joe, that's clip 2 on the screen. Hearing impairment, now taking the list of what we've just identified, one after the other, and giving them some more detailed explanation. Also known and referred to as hearing loss. Hearing impairment is a partial or total inability to hear. This may occur in one or both ears. Although hearing impairment can be temporary or permanent, it can affect the ability to learn spoken language in children and cause work-related difficulties and loneliness in adults. If you take a look at the photographs on the screen, you will see an audiologist conducting an audiometric hearing test on an individual. You want to ask Joe, is there any hospital in Nigeria that has this capability? I don't know. No, but as journalists, I always ask you.
But I think that if we search very well,
I am hoping that they exist.
Handful of them.
They will. I am hoping that they exist. And the whole idea of bringing out all this to the fore is for us to be able to think as a people and as a nation. And if we don't have things, the reason we really loot and fritter and waste money is that we seem to lack ideas of where to push in this in order to increase quality of life. And I bet you don't need to be a billionaire to be a happy and successful man. No, you don't. You only need to know the art of living and living well. Okay? So this is what I think we should, get going in Nigeria, so that a lot of discontented people will begin to see reason to be happy and reason to be patriotic citizens. Patriotism is not forced. It's aimed. And I remember, I will tell you this because it has to be aviation, it's aviation related. During the Second Gulf War, an F-117 stealth fighter bomber was shot down over enemy territory. And the American government was said to have deployed men, materials, and equipment said to be worth $2.3 billion in order to successfully plug the pilot that successfully bailed out of his destroyed airplane but landed in enemy territory. And that young man was taken away by American troops from the midst of enemy territory, as even enemies were surging forward to get to his location and slaughter him.
And it cost them 2.3 billion to do that.
Yes, one life. That is the value American government attaches to the American. And we must begin to think in this kind of way.
Then.
Yes, during the Second Gulf War. We must begin to think in this direction. As soon as we begin to attach value to the lives of the Nigerians out there, you will see patriotism, coming back at you without you asking. And that's what those in the circles of government must begin to do, and begin to change the mindset and leave looting alone. We don't need all these billions and billions. We don't need that.
This may be why the Abuja airport was rehabilitated earlier this year.
Oh, well, most hopefully, because we made a case here and insisted that the right equipment must be put in place. We did an exhaustive show of ILS, the instrument landing system, and exposed it to Nigerians that we deserve only the best. Well, thank God the minister is listening one, and he did the best and put his job online to say, if I don't deliver this to you on this date, I will resign.
But we are still expecting the instrument landing system.
Well, hopefully, we're watching. For as long as I live and I'm healthy, there's no one that can deceive Nigerians on aviation, not anywhere. There is no inch of this area of life that is far away from me. I've got everything with all due humility. Now, just ask me the question, and I'll tell you what it is all about.
What do we have in clip 2?
All right, clip 2. We're continuing with hearing impairment. Was it 2? No, 3, Joe.
Clip 3, yeah.
Clip 3, yeah.
And we have just 3 clips to go.
8 of them, but I will run quickly now. Hearing impairment continues. Apart from noise, studies have shown that hearing impairment can also be caused by genetics, aging, infections, birth complications, trauma to the ear, and certain medications and toxins. Studies also show that half of hearing loss cases are preventable. Can you hear that? These things are preventable. Avoiding loud noise, immunization, and avoiding certain medications can reduce hearing loss. It is therefore my strong recommendation that officers working close to airplanes be properly equipped with ear protection gears. I see people, walking through us, standing around airplanes as they're, taxiing off with the noisy jet engines. I haven't seen anyone with ear protection gears. But if you watch TV, like I was watching, 2 nights ago about the Dubai airport and how they keep, a tab on time and maintenance. I saw everyone.
With protection gear.
Yes, and some of them are even dual use. One, for wireless communication, and as well as protection of the ears. Go to our airports. Do we have really value for our people? This is Nigeria. We have value when the average Nigerian out there is seen to have value. Otherwise, take away the human beings called Nigerians out of this land. It's easy to be Nigeria. If you bring in Chinese to occupy this land becomes Chinese. So, can somebody listen somewhere? Let's move on.
But let's be hopeful that we'll get there someday. I remember
clip 4, please.
Before now, you see workers in building site and road construction site without helmet.
That's correct.
And what do you call it, boot? But now you see them putting on this. There's
somebody somewhere, especially
Someday we will get to that.
Yeah, because Koren is serious-minded and Koren is insisting on those standards. It's exactly the same way we need the NCAA and the rest of them operating at the airport
to also insist on
get
standards.
serious and insist on standards for safety. Right?
Clip 4.
Clip 4. Hypertension. Studies cite hypertension as one of the consequences of aircraft noise. Medically known as high blood pressure, HBP, it is a long-term medical condition in which the blood pressure in the arteries is persistently elevated. Symptomless, Long-term high blood pressure is said to be a major risk factor for coronary artery disease, stroke, heart failure, peripheral vascular disease, vision loss, and chronic kidney disease. You have a lot of kidney cases, in the country at the moment, and it's mostly as a result of high blood pressure. Unfortunately, a lot of people are too ignorant to take care of themselves. Now, those exposed to aircraft noise must therefore keep a close watch on the blood pressure. This is asking those that are in control of the airport to save our brothers and sisters working at the airport and ensure that they go through. And like the picture there is one of the equipment you need to measure your blood pressure. You can own these, they're not too expensive. And you can always check your blood pressure and know when it's flying out of hand, and then consult your doctor and make sure you put them on check. All right, so let's move to clip 5 very quickly. Ischemic heart disease. That's one of those things that noise can give to you. Known also as coronary artery disease, CAD, C-A-D. Ischemic heart disease, IHD, is within a group of cardiovascular diseases which include stable angina, or some pronounce it as angina, unstable angina, myocardial infarction, and sudden cardiac death. Don't let all those big words destabilize you, Joe. Angina is simply when you have pain or chest pain because of blockages on your arteries, and then the stable one is the one that comes at you when you are at rest, and suddenly you start having chest pain and the rest of them because there are blockages there. It usually leads to heart attack. And unstable one is the one that comes at you when you are exercising. So don't let these things.
So, but how do you prevent such?
That's why we're going quickly. So that's this. I've just described to you the stable angina and unstable angina. So don't let all these big words
but the key thing here is the prevention.
That's correct. So a common symptom is chest pain, which often travel into the shoulder, arm, back, neck, or jaw. In some cases, no symptom occurs at all. That's quite deadly, isn't it? When you don't even know that you're dying and suddenly a heart attack strikes at you. Now, apart from aircraft noise, other risk factors include high blood pressure, smoking. For those smokers out there, may God help you, you need to stop. Diabetes, lack of exercise, obesity, bad cholesterol, and you should do your blood work, at least twice every year. If you ask me, Joe, I do every quarter. I do my blood work and take a look at my bad cholesterol and a good one. Anytime the bad is going beyond limit, you take the steps that you need to take, and then get them out of the way. Is the way to live well. Obesity, bad cholesterol, poor diet, depression, and excessive alcohol. The photo there is showing you your artery and some of the fatty deposits that create all these issues we're talking about. That's what you see. So
excessive alcohol is dangerous.
That's correct.
Very, very
That's
dangerous.
correct. But personally, I've learned to keep away completely. It doesn't even cross my mouth anymore.
That means when you say anymore, it means that some time ago you used to engage in it. Now clip
6. Annoyance is one of the issues that noise can give to you. Annoyance is an unpleasant mental state characterized by irritation and distraction from one's conscious thinking. All right? Being easily annoyed is called irritability. Annoyance can lead to emotions such as frustration and anger. Studies show that any kind of stimuli can cause annoyance. Apart from aircraft noise, stimuli such as getting poked in the side or listening to a song repeatedly can cause annoyance. There are 7 plays very quickly. Time is usually to our friend, and we need to hit it very quickly. We have about 3-4 minutes to go. Right. Sleep disturbance is one of the disorders that aircraft noise can give to our brothers and sisters serving us out there. Organ Minister, please take this seriously. I need to go to that airport and see that they are better equipped and kitted to do this job and serve us well. All right. So also known as sleep disorder or somnipathy. this is a medical disorder of the sleep patterns of a person or animal. Studies show that some sleep disorders can interfere with normal physical, mental, social, and emotional functioning. Medical experts usually order tests known as polysomnography and actigraphy for most sleep disorders. The medical ones know exactly, what this whole thing tests are all about. And if you consult medical ones, they will help you. So apart from aircraft noise, other medical or psychiatric conditions that may produce sleep disorders include alcoholism. Here is alcohol once again, Joe. Mood disorders, depression, anxiety disorder, panic, psychosis, usually known as schizophrenia, and sleeping sickness, usually transmitted by fly. Those who walk close to aircraft while engines are running must watch it. This is a warning from the aviation freak, the only one in the world. I'm proudly from Nigeria.
Now, before we go to the last clip,
they must have their ear protection gears on all the time. Now, Joe, go ahead, talk to me.
Before we go to the last clip,
yes, that's correct.
The eighth clip, sleeping disturbance.
Yes,
it can be remedied through drugs.
Joe, there is absolutely nothing that can be put under control. Even HIV can be put under control and you live a normal life. Absolutely not. But the point is, would individuals out there turn themselves in when it matters, especially ahead of your feeling unwell?
You just made the point. Turn yourself in when it matters.
Clip 8, please. Aviation, results of environmental studies by Germans. Listen to this and it will excite you, Joe. In the late 2000s, one Bernhard Grazer, that's how the Germans pronounce this name, by the way, a German working for the Umweltbundesamt, Germany's Central Environmental Office, that is the Umweltbundesamt, carried out a large-scale statistical analysis of the health effects of aircraft noise using the health data of over 1 million residents around the Cologne airport. Can you see? Around the Cologne airport. And I hope somebody will do that for people around the Ikeja airport, in Lagos. And of course, the community near Abuja airport is swelling at the moment and will soon look like that of Lagos. And I hope somebody will care for them.
No, but I think that of Abuja will work a bit slower than what we have.
Hopefully, especially if we get serious and insist on laws.
60 seconds.
The study concluded that aircraft noise clearly and significantly impairs health. The study concluded that aircraft noise clearly and significantly impairs health. A sound pressure level of 40 decibel is said to commence health effects in humans. An average aircraft jet engine produces sound pressure levels of 65 to 80 decibels. Joe, can you see that? From 40 decibels, you begin to have health issues. But an aircraft engine, especially when it's cheering away for takeoff, can dole out between 65 and 80 decibels of sound. Are we still in doubt? Can we begin to equip our aviation workers so they can live longer for us? That's my big question from aviation freak Goddy.
Now, before we go quickly, in 30 seconds, what are your recommendations?
Well, it is the same all the time. Aviation is a serious-minded business for serious-minded people. And as a matter of fact, our issue is not about money. It's about attitude. We've got enough money as a nation to put things right. So I urge Mr. Minister, I must grant that you are doing well at the moment. You are really doing well. And believe me, I flatter no one if you know me well. Any day I find you going wrong, I will look you in the eyes and tell you, Mr. Minister, I don't agree, you're not doing well. Now, having said that, there's room to do more. If you have listened to this program today, or your men and women have listened and taken notes, please ensure that in another week or two maximum, we want to see any of our workers around the airplanes taking in those knives to have the appropriate ear gear and insist that they wear them. Because sometimes they may supply these things, and because of the reckless attitude of our people, they will use them, and because nobody will check and insist that it's used, you see them still dropping it in the office and going around the aircraft and messing with their health ignorantly. So it's about discipline. Discipline. Serious-mindedness.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I am sure that our viewers must have been in a way or two benefited from some of your research, of course, especially the recommendation. It's just so funny how the aviation freak can dabble between aviation, between property. Now, of course, when you talk about estate, licensed estate surveyor and value, we're talking about property and to health. Okay, this is where we'll wrap up. This is where we'll wrap up the discussion for today. Environmental impact of aviation. Next week
we'll do the final part 5.
That will be part 5.
Part 5 and the final for this series.
All right. Until then, stay with ITV. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the program this morning on ITV continues.